again on the Metal Voice. So yesterday, Alan was super busy. We're getting ready for the Judas pre-show. Me and Perrin did a quick pre-game show. But how did that actually, what were the predictions? Were they correct? Were they not correct? Did you guys enjoy the show? Did you enjoy the set list? Would you have liked to seen other songs? And what was the fan reaction overall? Alan, what was your overall sort of experience on this?
Of your show that you did, or the
Judas Priest stuff? Of the Judas Priest show. I mean, sorry. Well, you didn't watch it yet. You didn't watch it.
Messing with you, Jim. I'm trying to see how awake you are. You were tired after the show last night, so. I mean, it was a great show. Sabaton, great opener. The Priest opening show in Montreal. I mean, I called it. It's a Richie Faulkner show, man.
Yeah, Richie kind of killed it, man. He killed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come to grips with the fact that the Judas Priest that I grew up no longer exists, but that's okay. This is a new Priest, and by the turnouts, a lot of young fans were there, a lot of older fans, older than us even. But I was glad to see that there's a very young fan base. In fact, we met one, Pierre from France. He was his first Judas Priest show last night, in fact. So it's nice to see the young fan base is getting turned on to the Richie Faulkner era Judas Priest. And it's much as we expected it to be, as far as I'm concerned. So,
is this their first album, Alan? Is this their first album, Judas Priest band? Sorry, Pierre, just kidding around. Would you say there's about 7,000 people there yesterday? 8,000, teetering around.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much the lower bowl holds, but I'm not sure if I want to talk about the venue. I'm not sure that was the right venue for them.
Yep.
But there must be logistical reasons for that.
Yeah. All right. Baron, high level. Let's not get into the songs just yet. Just high level. Did you, the experience, the overall experience?
I concur with one thing that Alan said, and that's that it was really cool to see a multi-generational audience. There was at one point where I looked over, and there was a guy on my right who was about 75 years old, and they were playing an older song, and he was like losing his frickin' mind. And then I looked over to my left, and there was a man holding up a little girl, like who was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and she had like the big earphones on. And I'm like, in my mind for a moment, I was like, how cool is this? That this guy, who could be, my uncle, maybe my father, not quite, is here. And then there's this 8-year-old girl here. And here I am enjoying the hell out of this. So I think that speaks more than anything else to the enduring power of Judas Priest.
50 years, as Rob would say, 50 years of metal.
And again, I'll piggyback on Alan. There's 3 pillars in the band. Rob is a pillar. Ian Hill really is a pillar because he stands where he is and he doesn't move, but that's fine. That's who he is. Scott Travis, look, at the end of the day, there's been a lot of great drummers in Judas Priest, but he's been there the longest. He's been there since 1990, 91, right?
And he's not just a guy who sort of joined later on and just played the classic songs. He's contributed, and he's been in the band in the bands some great albums.
So you have 60% of what I would call the quintessential lineup, and of course the big miss is the guitar duo. But Glenn, unfortunately, because of health, can't be there. So it's really only KK who we would like to be there, but for relationship reasons, he can't. But I have to say, having now seen the combination of Faulkner and Sneap a few times, I think they're gelling and coming into their own. The first time I saw Andy Sneap with the band, he was really tentative on stage. His hair was really short. He just didn't feel right. And now I think after being with the band for several tours or several legs of tours, I kind of just felt that there was a better cohesion between Richie and Andy Sneap, and it made for a really good show. I thought the stage presence of the band was good. And look, first night of a tour, they've been off for like a month since they finished up Europe. You're always going to get a band at their best. And I thought they sounded really good. I thought Rob was in really well-rested, strong voice. I've heard Rob in weaker voice. Rob was in really strong voice yesterday. So I was blown away.
So I had a different perspective yesterday. So yes, I was in the pit. I was in the photo pit yesterday, and it's quite the different experience than being front row because you could touch the stage. So here I am. I'm actually seeing these guys sort of like in front of me, like if they were playing in my, I don't know, my living room or something. And you get to, and you know what I noticed? The posing. They had such meta posing. Like these guys they're just such professionals. They look the part, they sound the part. The whole band, like you said, they gelled, and the audience just went. They were like thirsty for Priest. They really were thirsty. I've seen them before, but this time around, it was kind of like something, a homecoming of some sort. Like they're back, and the fans, they just were sucking it all up. And to your guys' points, it was multi-generational. I think Alan next to you was
there was a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old that Perrin mentioned. It's true. They were 7 and 9-year-olds. I asked the 9-year-old what his favorite Priest song was, and he said "Victim of Changes."
Wow.
And you know what?
When it came on, I don't know, either he was flabbergasted that they were actually playing it, or he didn't recognize the song. I'm not sure.
And you know what I've noticed about this time around than other times around? More people were standing in the seated section. Usually the people in the seated section.
Some guys didn't sit all night. Yeah.
No. And I think what happens is when you're so enthusiastic about a show and you're so excited, even when you can't dance properly or you're headbanging, everybody was standing in the seating section.
Yeah. Well, Jim,
says a lot.
You know what they accomplished? Because so just so everyone understands, right? The Bell Center is actually the biggest hockey arena in North America because the Canadians are so big. So whereas most hockey arenas are 2 levels, the Bell Center is 3 levels. So what they did, they never put the top level on sale, which is understandable. The second level was on sale, but because the expensive seats weren't completely sold, they sold the second level and they condensed everyone to the lower bowl. And that is to your question before, it's 8,000 people, the lower bowl and the floor. So 8,000 is still a good crowd for Judas Priest in 2024. But I think they also condensed the energy. Instead of the energy being dispersed throughout a building with pockets of empty seats. Okay, yes, they only had the lower bowl and the floor, but you had 8,000 people packed together, really enthusiastic. And Friday nights, and there was a really good vibe. And I really think, it turned out being a smart move doing what they did. And they didn't discount tickets very much. Some shows, they discount tickets $40, $20. They didn't discount tickets. They just upgraded people. So say what you want about if it's the wrong building, Alan. I think it probably was. But if you sold 8,000 tickets at an average price point of probably like $125, because some were like 100, but some were 250, they grossed over $1 million in ticket sales. And let's say the bands only got paid 200, 250 between them. The promoter walked away with a lot of money. So we can take issue if they put them in the right building or not, but money was made yesterday. Merch was off the, like they were selling out of merch on night 1 of the tour of certain sizes.
That's always a good sign.
So that's your only takeaway there at Perrin. That was like, damn, I didn't get the shirt I wanted because they sold out too quickly.
Well, you know what? They sold out the one I wanted, so I got the $20 job outside, and I'm happy with that. and let's just, it is what it is. Do better, guys. And I have to say, Sabaton might have sold.
Well, wait a second. We're not going to Sabaton yet. Hold your horses. 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 Alan, set list. Let's talk about set list now. I mean, what did you think about the set list?
I want to hear more about the merch.
We're going to talk about merch in a second. Set list, go.
Yeah, the set list. I mean, it starts off, and then you got some deep cuts like Riding on the Wind and Devil's Child from Screaming for Vengeance. Say, oh, okay, this might be different. Like these are some, and then Love Bites. Okay, they've played that before live on many occasions, but still, with the vast discography of Judas Priest, you're like, those are some odd choices, but I'm glad that they played them. I love Riding on the Wind. So, but then they got into more familiar territory, right? So we got Breaking the Law, Screaming for Vengeance. For Another Thing Coming was actually the second song played. So again,
that was a different. That was
Again, you're saying some of the big hits that historically were saved for the encore are coming out early. So this set might be quite different. But then they got into the standards, right? The Sinner and the Victim of Changes, and which is, probably a must-have. And then you've got Breaking the Law, Green
Green
Manalishi.
yeah, yeah.
So you're saying, okay, we're back to familiar territory. So, but one thing I just, for my if we're talking about the set list, that's my thoughts. But I like to get back to the dual guitar later in the show. So.
All right. So me and Perrin, we did a prediction yesterday on the set list. We thought, okay, they're going to pull out maybe Devil's Child. They'll pull out maybe Saints in Hell, and they'll throw in 2 Rock-a-Rolla songs. Just this set list is very similar to the European set list. Not exactly, but pretty much on spot, right? But we thought they're going to do Rock-a-Rolla. They have to do Rock-a-Rolla. I think.
Well, you're promoting the re-release of an album, allegedly.
Maybe they just wanted to go out with a bang first night, and then they'll start integrating those songs later on. And we're also predicting the merch would be a Rock-a-Rolla T-shirt, which there wasn't. But maybe they'll integrate that later on. For myself, they played a little bit of new, right? They played, I think, 3 songs from the new album. Of course, they played the classics. They played the hits. And, it's Judas Priest. And I think I saw people dancing on every song. Turbo Lover comes on, friggin' everybody's friggin' dancing and standing. And,
I think that was the most.
For an album that people can't stand, they sure love that album.
They love playing that song live. I mean, that's a
and everyone around me was singing it. Everyone. Big hairy biker men. I'm yours. Rob is singing about heavy throbbing loads, and the big guys.
It's a great song. It's a great song.
But don't you guys find? I've seen Priest 14 times, and as an example, like last time I saw them in Albany, it was a kinder, gentler set list. They played Out in the Cold. They played Take These Chains. I found yesterday was a heavy set list. I mean, think about how the show towards the end went. I think they played Sinner, and then Victim of Changes, Green Manalishi, Painkiller, with the Hellion Electric Eye as the first encore, into Hellbent for Leather. Like, it was a heavy, tough set. Saints in Hell, like you talked about some of the Screaming for Vengeance stuff. The only 2 poppier songs they played were Turbo Lover and Crown of Horns from the new album. But I thought mostly it was a heavy, aggressive set. And I kind of liked that coming from Priest. It was kind of good to see. Like, it was a night of heavy metal. There was no Take These Chains. There was no Out in the Cold. I liked those songs. But and it was also, for me, it was different because, like Alan said, You've Got Another Thing Coming was always like one of the encores or the last song before the encore. Breaking the Law was always an encore. So when they play those songs early, it's a different pacing than what we've seen in the past. Actually, it was really weird for me for them to open with Panic Attack and go right into You Got Another Thing Coming, And I had heard they had been doing this, but, experiencing it, it was different. It was all right,
Yeah, I agree with Perrin. That's something that I picked up early on. It's we were used to Rob going off stage, the lights dims, everybody leaves the stage, they come back on, Rob's in another, dressed differently. But last night there was barely some songs, there was no break. They went right into the second song. It was really punched, they were coming fast and furious at one point. So I did pick up on that early myself. So which was a pleasant change of pace. It goes back to Perrin's point. So
it's interesting. At one point, right after Turbo Lover, Rob comes out. He does this before. He sits down and he goes, "It's been 50 years of heavy metal, and Montreal, you were there from the beginning," which there's a lot of truth to that too, right, in North America. And right then and there, I thought they're going to just break out into like Rock-a-Rolla or some track from that album. Yeah. But they didn't.
Well, he started talking about it, right? He talked about and I even texted you because we were together, but we weren't together. And I said, "This is it." And then it didn't happen,
It's okay. It's okay. You know what? I thought it was a very heavy set list, like you guys said. I thought it was a well balanced between new, old, and hits. And I think the audience just loved it. I think the high points were definitely when I looked at the crowd reaction. Panic Attack, You Got Another Thing Coming, Breaking the Law, Turbo Lover, Victims of Changes, right? The Green Manalishi, everybody exploded, and Painkiller, and of course the encore. So definitely, Sinner was another great one too.
Yeah, Sinner got a lot of reaction.
And it's just amazing to see how many young people. I mean, I'm not going to say the whole place was full of young people, but there were a lot of young folk.
No, but it was definitely a mix.
And it was a 70-30 mix between men and women, maybe 65. I know 70-30 was probably about it, which is good to see too, right?
Yeah.
All right, Alan, your dual guitar. What'd you want to say?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I've seen Priest numerous times. I find that this one, was really more, no more dueling guitars. It's really Richie. And in fact, one point, Andy went and stood next to Ian in the back. So that really put Richie in the forefront. And Richie's a great guitarist, don't get me wrong. He's a great person as well. So that's where I saw it was becoming more of a Rob and Richie show, which I'm not complaining about. It's just like I said, I got to come to grips with that's Priest of today and not the Priest of the '80s. So.
All right, so I guess I just want to tell everybody that I did take a lot of pictures. I'm going to post them later. I have to get through them all and make sure the nice ones, are posted, or the cooler ones are posted. Posted the Sabaton pictures already, and let's talk about Sabaton. Baron, what do you think about Sabaton? I didn't see the Sabaton sale. I saw 3 songs. I was in a lobby.
Feel like it's funny. I feel like as a North American, I'll say I'm a casual fan of Sabaton. I'm not a massive fan, but I do like them. I saw their first tour of North America in 2011, opening for Sept at Club Soda, which is a 900C club. So to think how far they've come from 2011 to now in North America, opening act in a 900C club, they headlined our small arena here last year or 2 years ago with Epica. And now I feel like they almost got a headliner's response yesterday. They had an hour on stage, which is a lot for an opener. They were allowed to use props like the tank drum riser and,
great lighting.
And the lighting.
They had
and
great lighting.
Gas mask. So, I mean, they were afforded more liberties than the typical opening act would be. And I think it speaks to their status. People either went nuts for them because they were fans. And a lot of people I saw commenting on the Metal Voice today saying, oh, I didn't know that much about these guys. I'm going to check them out. I really liked it. So, and that's why a band like Sabaton does a tour like this, to up their profile even more. So I thought they were energetic. I think they played a good set list of various points of their career, although it's all the same kind of theme, right? History and war. And I thought they went over really great. So I have to say, it was really...
And the merch outs did very well, too.
And like I said, I saw probably... I think both bands did well with merch, but as far as opening acts go, you typically don't see an opening act have 4 selections. Sometimes it's contracted that the opening act can only have 1 or 2 selections. Yeah. So they had a good selection. And I would say a lot of the teenager crowd were probably wearing Sabaton shirts more than Judas Priest shirts. And I took the train on the way home, and I saw a lot of Sabaton merchandise all over the train.
Yeah, I spoke to, just to go to Perrin's point, I spoke to a lot of Sabaton fans, and they were equally amazed at the progression of this band. And obviously, we've interviewed them, we joked with them about the non-stop touring, grueling schedules. They've lost some members because of it, but now this lineup's been stabilized. It was a great show, and hats off for Judas Priest for giving them the liberty of doing what they need to do, not trying to cram them in or cut on lighting or kind of hijack them early on they're giving them full liberty, and that's hats off to Judas Priest to have that confidence to follow them and not even worry about the opening band, which is the way it should be, right? So
it's funny because I was there taking a picture of the band, and then I saw Chris, the guitarist. I go, Chris, I just went like this because me and Alan, we kind of interviewed him. I think it was his first ever interview ever. So I guess that's a stamp in his head of our faces. I go like this. He goes, oh, like it wasn't like, hey, it was more like, oh my God, there you are. Where'd you come from? So that was pretty cool. Yeah, they were tight. Their set list, from what I heard from the first 3 songs, were great. And you know what? What a great band!
Opening of Ghost Division, I have had Ghost Division in my head all day. That's just such a wallop. Them too, they actually played it. I think they knew Priests were playing a heavy set, and they played a pretty heavy, fast set. I thought so powerful.
Well, I didn't see it all. I didn't see it all. All I know is I saw those first 3 songs, and man, I've seen them before, of course. They're the exception to the rule that you can make it in the music industry. And this is like the downloading era we're talking about, right? When people were downloading music, nobody was buying albums. They did it. They proved that they can do it and they could be a force to be reckoned with, especially in North America. North America is a hard market to like break out, like, and get to that status in heavy metal. Europe, they're massive. They play bigger places than the Bell Center in Europe. But congrats to them. Any closing remarks there, Alan?
No, it was Priest is Priest, man. They're still around. That's great. The turnout, the enthusiasm of the fans, from everybody from mid-70s right down to 7-year-olds were having a great time last night. It was a great atmosphere, and I just wish them all the success on this tour, and then hopefully there's another one in the future. So,
yep, they're still continuing their tour. Perrin, closing remarks?
Yeah, you know what? Whenever I think it's the end for Judas Priest, here they are. They put out a great album, a great tour that was fairly well attended and lucrative for them. So maybe there's no end in sight. And I guess that's a good thing because, I enjoyed my Judas Priest show number 14 just as much as I enjoyed my Judas Priest show number 1 in 1986. And, an interesting thing is, if all goes well, I'll be seeing them in Vegas on October 16th on one of the last shows of the tour.
oh, there you go.
So it'll be interesting for us to talk again maybe in a month, because I'm just curious to see how a show in a different kind of venue, it's a theater in Vegas, a big theater, but it's a theater at Planet Hollywood. And, the rigors of the road, how will they look and feel and sound, 6 weeks into the tour versus night number 1. So I guess I'm looking forward to that comparison.
It's interesting that you said that, because the band, you could feel the sense of excitement because they were just sort of anticipating getting on stage after not touring for a while, right? The fans had that same anticipation. Oh, we haven't seen these guys in Montreal in so long. Here they coming on the North American tour. I think yesterday was a sort of a very, I don't know if I call it magical, but I think a very enthusiastic evening. There was a lot of anticipation. There was a lot of happy people. And when you see the majority of the seats at a metal show where people are standing up, I'm not talking about Def Leppard here, I'm talking about like a real metal show, that says something. So hats off to Priest. Congrats on the tour.
Yeah.
I'll post the show dates in the details of this video. Guys, have yourself a wonderful Saturday. Thank you for your time, and rock on.
Rock-a-rolla.
All right. Thanks for watching the Metal Boys.